Can you imagine? He would have been privileged to be there. Maybe till the Messiah is coming, nobody will reach that high, like Rav Kalonymus said now. And he was mamish dancing. First, he was dancing all alone, like a little Torah. He was dancing like mad. And again, they had to leave before dawn, because you have to realize everybody was endangering his life, because if the Nazis come in, they'll all be shot. But who cares? So this is Reb Kalman. So Reb Kalman, till 43, was sitting there in the shoe factory writing. And he writes a book. It's called Nikos Tachshoros Habrechen. Prepare yourself, young people. And the beautiful thing is, he doesn't write a book about, but he writes to you. You know, when you open the book, he says, I want to talk to you. And this is what I have to tell you. You know, you can mamish hear his voice talking. Like a valve, you know. Eventually, I hope somebody will translate the book, but not in a fancy English, you know, like that he'll put it down after 2 pages, but really the way he's talking. You know? And then it's 2 volumes, it's 1 book, and it's called Tzaf B'Zirus. Command and make it fast. You know? The second part of that book is Tzaf, you know, I tell you what to do, and Zirus, and do it fast. Whatever I tell you, better do it, because otherwise you won't get it. And besides all this, he also writes down all the things he was telling his followers in those 3 years in the Warsaw Ghetto. So this is the Torah he said 1942 on Purim. Okay. Okay, Purim, we say something very strong. Everybody remembers the story of Purim, that Haman wanted to kill all the Jews. Simple as it is. And it says, Shoshanas Yaakov Tzoholo V'Somecho B'Roisem Yachat Cheles Mordechai. But you know, after Haman was hanged and after everything was over, Mordechai, it hid himself in the garments of a king, because the king made him the vice king. You know, Haman was first the second to the king, and now Mordechai became the second to the king, and he wore a blue garment, like a holy garment. And everybody was happy when they saw Mordechai wearing this. So he says, they were happy because Mordechai was wearing this blue garment. They were happy because Haman didn't kill them, you know, simple as it is. Did it matter if Mordechai wears a blue garment or green, or if he doesn't wear a garment? Or what? But most probably this is the deepest secrets of the world. So he says like this. And this is mamish, I want you really to open your hearts like 2 million miles. This was said in the Warsaw Ghetto 1942, out of the deepest depths. He says there's a passage in the Psalms that says, Tfilo le'oni kliyata. The prayer of the poor, again if you translate it, sadly enough I don't know how to translate it, but if you translate it even without thinking, it's Tfilo le'oni kliyata. The prayer of the poor surrounds him completely. Now listen to this. It's very, very deep. Imagine if I'm praying in my heart, please God, do a certain thing for me. You know? It could be a secret between me and God. Nobody will know about it. It's just inside of me. But imagine if I'm a poor schlepper, I'm heartbroken, downhearted, and you see me on the street. My prayer is so strong, right? It surrounds me completely. It's so obvious. Everybody who sees me knows what I'm praying. It's completely surrounded. It's so strong. I can't hold it inside anymore. It's just running outside of me. And now, friends, this is very, very deep. I think we spoke about a lot of times. There's such a thing as oil panimi, there's an inside light, and then there's such a thing as an or makif, a surrounding light. Inside light is, it's very, very deep inside, but I still have vessels, I can hold it inside. But then there's something which is so strong, it's so overpowering that I don't have the vessels anymore to keep it inside. But let's put it this way, on a very simple level. There are some times I could be heartbroken and I don't tell anybody, right? I can keep it inside. Sometimes I'm so heartbroken I can't control myself. You asked me, how are you? And you didn't even ask me, and I started telling him all the story. So I just can't hold it back anymore. So it says, Tefillah le'oni, the poor man's prayer is kiyato, It's b'pchinas or makivs, on the level of surrounding him, He can't hold it inside anymore. And he's crying all the time. And it says, V'lifnei Hashem yishbach sicha, and he pours out his heart before God. You know what it means? You know what kind of an outpouring of the heart it is? If what hurts you has reached the level that you can't hold it inside anymore. How deep this is. Now listen very carefully. If my prayer is still on the level that I can keep it inside, then the way I pour it out to God is also on an inside level. I pray on a finite level. I will request, Reb Shlomo, I will say, this, help me. But imagine if I'm on the level that it's so much, I just can't bear it anymore. Right? It's completely surrounding me. Right? And then I pour out my heart to God. It's also on a completely infinite level, because I can't hold it anymore. But now listen to this. The same way is also when God is helping. Sometimes God helps us on the level that we can contain the help of God inside, but God help me, I can contain it inside. And sometimes God is helping so much, I just can't contain it. It's completely surrounded. Imagine, God forbid, someone was a bit sick and God helped him. But imagine, God forbid, somebody was nearly dead and he's alive, right? So he can't control it, right? He says, you know what happened to me? Yeah, greatest miracle in the world. So he says like this, something very, very beautiful. Now he starts saying, because everybody knows that in the lights from heaven, they're shining on two levels. Sometimes the lights of heaven are shining on the oil panimi, inside light, and sometimes they're shining on the level of oil makif, of a surrounding light. Again, friends, if some of you ever study Jewish mysticism, this is one of the first terms you have to get deep insight into you. Oil panimi, inside light, and surrounding light, because this is actually the secret. Basically, it's the secret of the whole creation. There's certain times God's light is shining in such a way that it is hidden, that's inside. And sometimes it's so strong that it's just surrounding it all the time. So he says something very deep. Sometimes I'm asking God for one favor, and God is doing me this one favor. So he says something very deep. It depends where my help was coming from. If my help is coming from the level from heaven, on the level of an inside light, then the way it reaches me is also on an inside light. Just for this one thing. I imagine I need a loan of $10,000. And I says, please God, help me, I should find someone who gives me $10,000. So if my praying was on the level of a finite prayer, right? Inside, I can't contain it and rest. So God gives me, I meet somebody who gives me 10,000. But imagine my prayer was on the level of completely pouring out my heart. Then the way God helps me is not only I find someone who gives me $10,000, my whole life changes. Suddenly something happens to me. Everything goes good suddenly. It happens sometimes, should happen to everybody. Not only I found someone who gives me $10,000, suddenly everything got well, the whole world gets helped. Everything changed, everything around me, suddenly something happened. So he says something very, very beautiful. Says something very deep. Purim was the strangest holiday in the world, because everybody knows on Purim not only that they didn't kill us, could have had something happen. Haman dies and he doesn't kill us. If you remember the story, suddenly not only the Jews weren't killed, suddenly Mordechai became the biggest man in the world, right? And like the whole world was shivering, they realized, mamish, and we went right back to build Israel again, if you remember the story. Right after the story of Haman, not only they didn't kill us, but the Persian king gave us permission to go back to Israel and to rebuild the Holy Temple, the second Holy Temple. Right? It's not only God helped us, it was really on the level we should even dream of. It was more than we thought, everything out. So he says something like this. He says something very beautiful. The difference between Purim and Chanukah is very simple. Chanukah is on the level of a little candle, a little light, it's shining. See, it's shining that much and so far. Purim was on the level of garments. Because in Jewish mysticism, garments means our market surrounding us. It's so much, it's surrounding even from outside. Purim, the level of the holiday of Purim is that it comes from such a place that's just infinite, completely infinite. And therefore, Purim, you have to be so high beyond your mind, right? Really be completely infinite. Because the light of Purim, which is shining down, is completely infinite. And he says something very beautiful. Sometimes when the help comes from the inside light, then the question is, how good are your insides? Because it's finite, they measure you. But when the help comes from that holy place, which is called our makiv, surrounding light, deeper than vessels, it doesn't depend who you are, what you are. God is helping you for no reason. For no reason. So he says, on Purim, the help of Purim comes not because we deserve it, but because anything comes from such a place where nothing can disturb it. I'll tell you something very deep. Imagine I want to do somebody a favor, and then someone comes and says, this person doesn't deserve it. Then it depends inside of me why I wanted to help this person. If I wanted to help this person because they deserve it, so someone tells me they don't deserve it, then I don't want to help them. If I just did it because I want to, for no reason, deeper than reason, touched me so deep, then who cares? But then the most beautiful thing he says, Chodesh Nisan, the month of Pesach, it says, Yeshua's Boi Makifus. The month where God's help is so completely surrounding us. You know what really means freedom? Freedom is really so deep, so beautiful. Freedom is not something, an inside light, You're free to do this or free to do that. the holiness of mamish God freedom comes from such a high place, it completely surrounds you. It's beyond you, completely infinite. It's really so beautiful, so deep, Some people have an inside light, it's a very high level, but this is not freedom yet. Mamish freedom of Pesach is when and everybody knows that Purim is a preparation for Pesach, on the deepest level. This is so deep, friends, and I don't know if I made myself clear to you. There are some times, whatever you believe in, whatever you live for, whatever you live, it's just a little inside light. It's fine, it's beautiful, it's sweet. But sometimes it is completely surrounding you. You're with it, you're living in it. Not only it lives within you, you are living in it. For instance, I'll tell you something very strong. I just hope and pray my whole life. I'd like not to be an inside Jew. Like a little bit inside of me is a Jew. I want to be a Jew on that level, that I want to be surrounded with Jewishness, completely surrounded. That means I should walk, in Honolulu, and every native should know he's a Jew walking on the street. Because I want, really. And everybody, whatever he believes in, whatever they do, it has to be so strong. It has to be so strong. It has to be on that level. There is also something very deep between people. I can love somebody on an inside. So I have a little light shining inside. I love you, I like you. And there sometimes between peoples on the level of, shoes by my kids. I love you so much. It's absolutely spilling over, The deepest depths, let me tell you, when it comes to peace, I want you to know something very, very deep. Reach the utmost depths. In the Arizal, this is really the deepest depths of mysticism. It says, Ba Sholem, with peace, is the same letters as Malbush, means garment. Ba Sholem is Malbush. Mem Lamed Beis Vav Shin. Malbush means garment. That means real peace is not if it's an inside, little piece of inside. It has to be completely surrounded, right? The people who have a little bit peace inside, okay, they won't yell at you. But you can still be filled with hatred. But people who have this malbush, surrounding, when you stand in there next to them, it surrounds you too, right? You see, the difference between me wearing a shirt and somebody else, very simple. A physical shirt, I wear it. You're not. But if I wear this holy garments, this light garments, this infinite garments, that wherever I am, I can surround the whole world with it. Oh, it's so deep, friends. I don't know how much I made myself clear, but I really want you to take it home with you. So deep, so deep. But also it's so deep that there are prayers which are on the level of an inner light. So deep to think of it. Sometimes I pray on the level, it hurts me something inside. Okay, then God helps me also on the level of an inside light. If I pray on a level, I'm completely pouring out my heart to God. Completely. Because it hurts me so much, I'm completely surrounded with that pain, that hurt. Then the help I'm drawing from heaven also is on that level of completely surrounded. In Chassidus, this is very strong. Imagine, by Chassidish Rebbe is very strong, thousands of stories. Imagine Moshe was sick. Also he was poor and he had no children. Let's assume. But then, let's say, he comes to the Rebbe and says, Rebbe, I'm so sick. The Rebbe says, okay, pray for you. But then when he prayed for him, Moshe not only got well, also got rich and he had children. He says, because in heaven, if you really open the doors, everything comes down. Everything. Meaning to say, sometimes to be a little bit in pain, basically right now we have a chance really to pray for everything. Really to pray for everything. There's also very strong Torah in Or Sameach, in Rav Shlomo. She says that it's really very, very strong, He said that my holy master, Rabbi Melech, he says when he walked on the street, he didn't have to say one word, but everybody's heart was turning over 1,000 times. Because he had this Or Makif, surrounding love. I remember at one time I was somewhere and people were talking what's called a personality. There are all kinds of... So I don't know, because everybody said good things, but I said it that I would translate personality as somebody has an Or Makif, Personality means he has something, he says it without saying it, like something surrounding them. Some people walk in, garnished, like nothing. And some people have this surrounding life. But you see, the surrounding light comes depends really, according to Reb Kalonymus, really depends on what level your prayer is. On what level the pain is you're going through in this world. Right? How much you take to heart everything. Say something very deep, And again, in my own personal way. I felt it very strong, Okay, let's say God, there's a war in Israel. Some people took it on an inside light level, So then, okay, here God forbid, Israel. So the way they're ready to do something for Israel is also on the level of an inside level, a little bit. Some people, it got them on a level of the surrounding lights completely wiped out, right? Completely infinite level. So then it really touched them on infinite level. Very strong. Everything in the world. Shabbos, you can celebrate Shabbos. I want you to know something very deep. Why is it on Shabbos that we must wear Shabbos-like garments? It's a very strong thing. On Shabbos, the mitzvah is not only to celebrate Shabbos. On Shabbos, you must wear new garments. Why? Because Shabbos, it's not only that I'm resting, inside resting in my working. It has to be completely surrounded. Shabbos has to surround me on the utmost level. So deep, Let's sing a sweet song on the surrounding level. What?
What are the right words to Shlomo Carlebach?